Last year, my daughter and I did a 8,000-mile road trip cross country in this 2008 Mercedes, and went 50% in this tent. Really enjoyed the road trip. It was the first time I had done that level of road trip and that type of travel for, had to have been 35, 40 years since my parents and my sister and I did that trip along the way. And we had a number of national parks, spent a significant amount of time, just kind of enjoying ourselves as we were driving cross country. Got to see a lot of different sights along the way. And as I'm coming up on my 55th birthday, made a determination in the last year or two, now that I've got a job and role that allows me to work largely remotely, one that provides me with the ability to have the summers as a relatively downtime, because I work in accounting, tax, finance, and one that as I get older, I begin to realize that working 60 hours a week is, not the way I want to spend the remainder of my life. So made the determination this last year that I was going to begin to step down from doing the level of work that I have been, and transition my life a little bit to something a little bit more sustainable, a little bit different. So what I decided to do was begin stepping back starting next summer, so starting in the summer of 2026, and do a long road trip that was going to allow me to see a lot of the country that I hadn't been able to see before, or that I have largely flown over but haven't paid attention to. In 2024, when we did this road trip, we put a couple rules in place. Rule number one was that we weren't going to drive on the interstates, and largely kept to that until we hit Chicago. We're driving through the south side, and there may be some pictures in here. Off the interstate was not necessarily the best idea, and did a number of other spots to kind of to bypass some cities. We got onto the interstate, but largely stuck to the no interstate rule. So as we were going through, I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed it far more than Alex did. You can see Alex here, kind of really excited about us being at Little Bighorn Battlefield. I could probably spend the remainder of my days kind of wandering the country, looking at the history that we have, and the wonderful people, and the restaurants, and we also said we weren't going to eat at any chain places, so we tried to stick to that as well. So as I kind of thought about it over the last year or two, I decided that was going to be the direction I was going to go. So figured I would do that, but not going to be able to convince anybody to do the big trip with me. I don't think, at least not the whole thing. And also kind of determined that, well, doing it in a big used Mercedes is a really comfortable way to go. We had a couple spots when we hit Yellowstone and Glacier where the big old Mercedes is probably not the right vehicle for the logging roads and other things that we got ourselves routed to because we were avoiding the interstates. So made the determination this last year that I'm going to be doing this trip again in 2026, but I'm going to be doing it a little bit differently. The trip that we're going to do in 2026, or that I'm going to do in 2026, is going to be kind of the epic road trip. And I think 2026 is going to be the epic road trip to end all road trips. And then 2027, 2028, I've got some additional plans, and I'd like to be able to document that here, both the upfit of the vehicle, as well as the planning of the trip, the items that we got to go on the trip, the stand up of the maintenance of the truck, etc. So as you can see here, we did a number of college tours, mostly dad's alma maters, so that we were able to get Alex exposed to some different places along the way. So in researching, I made the determination that I was going to do two things. One, I wanted to make sure I hit national parks and other historical areas. I really have little interest in wandering around and looking at, big cities. Although there's some, like we spent a significant amount of time in Washington, New York, etc. I really want to see the other part of the country, the national parks, the national monuments, the areas that are largely difficult to visit unless you have the intention to visit them. The other thing that I wanted to be able to do was do it in a way that was going to be really cost efficient, but also allow me to get my work done. So be able to spend enough time on the road so that I could hit all the states that I wanted to hit, and then on the other side of the equation, be able to do the work that I need to be able to do to stay on top of my quasi 9-to-5 job. So determined that this is my nephew pitching when we hit upstate New York. Determined that the best way to do that was to get online and see who else has done these kind of trips and figure out what the right way to approach this problem would be. So as we were going through the exercise, decided that I was going to utilize Dr. Olson's Computing the Optimal Road Trip Across the United States. Dr. Olson put this together. He's got a methodology which uses Python to be able to optimize a road trip to be able to hit major U.S. landmarks. And so you can see that this is an optimized trip that allows you to hit the lower 48 states, that mathematically limits the amount of backtracking you're going to have, and stops at a number of these national parks and other landmarks along the way, and takes you to the lower 48. So I thought about it and I was like, okay, well this is good. I might want to try and do this type of trip, recognizing that if I wanted to cannonball run the thing, I could do it in probably 15 days, so probably 2 weeks, and just see if I can get the whole thing done in 2 weeks, so kind of rush my way through it. The alternative was to go and try and hit all the national parks in the lower 48, plus a number of the national monuments and other things, which is going to take a fair bit more time. But also, if you're in the area and you're in lower Utah and you've got 5 national parks in here, to just hit one so that you could say you hit it and then move on is probably not, kind of not in the spirit of it. So what I decided to do in 2026 is to do a modified version of this trip, and I'll take everybody, whoever wants to watch these videos, take you through the planning process of trying to hit all the national parks plus as many of the ancillary attractions and stuff along the way in the lower 48 by road in 2026. Starting in June. Alex graduates in middle of June. So between June and beginning of September, I want to be able to get the bulk of that done while working from the road. And then the following year, in 2027, I want to hit all the Canadian provinces plus Alaska. Now, I know you can't drive to all the national parks in Alaska. A few of them you have to fly to, and then there's also national parks in Hawaii and Samoa, American Samoa. But I want to at least hit the continental United States, including Alaska, And the other part is I would love to visit all the provinces of Canada, but I want to be able to do it as much as possible by car. And if you can do it that way, it becomes reasonably approachable for the typical person or family. So made a determination that was the direction I wanted to go, and decided I wanted to do it in a way that we were going to be able to keep costs down, and kind of do it in an inspired way for folks. So picked myself up this 2004 Jeep Cherokee, Grand Cherokee, for a little less than the price you see here. It's a four-wheel drive, 144,000 miles. Bought it a few months ago. Have been driving it around, kind of getting it broken in, identifying any issues. Seems to be a really good rig. It's got leather. It's got heated seats. But I'm going to work to upfit this as cheaply as possible so that I can use that as the primary vehicle. So it does have a tow hitch, but my intention is not to tow anything with it, but rather to utilize a tent, some interior sleeping, be able to stay at the national parks, be able to stay at the national monuments, try and stay away from the cities as much as possible, and utilize this as my primary work and living rig for basically next summer. So the plan is this: I'm going to start with the upfit of this vehicle here in the next few weeks, and I'll take you guys along on the upfit. My plan is to then do some shakedown camping for overnight, a couple days here in Washington this summer, so that I can hit a couple of the spots like out in the San Juans that are a little bit out of the way, tough to drive to. You got to take a ferry out there, but it's a kind of a nice little trip. So go out to some of there's a national monument out there. Go out to the San Juans. Go out to EB, which is down a few miles from me. I've got some state parks. Get it shook out, kind of make sure I've got it ready to go. But the plan is to take this rig on a trip that looks largely like the one I just pointed out here, with the exception of the fact that I want to add in a number of the national parks that are missing off this map. So it's going to likely be a longer trip. But it's also going to hit, I think there's 50 or 52 national parks in the lower 48. So I want to be able to hit those and do it in this rig. So what I intend to do is about once a week I'll post a video that kind of is the process I'm going through, whether it's working on the truck, whether it's kind of seeing what things I could find off Amazon or locally on Facebook Marketplace that I can use to upfit the vehicle for camping and other purposes, getting the maintenance all done, and then going out and doing some of the shakedowns, seeing how those go, and then finally putting together the plan for the long trip for next summer, and then kind of wrapping that up with taking you along on my trip so we can document that for posterity, and then if assuming everything goes well, be able to then do the same thing for the following summer, to hit the Canadian provinces and Alaska, where I'll start that a little bit earlier, run a southern route and then back across the north, I think in July, and at that point I'll have kind of tried to get all that in by my 56th birthday, 55 in their 57th birthday, 55 in this January, so 57 2 years from now, and then kind of make a determination as to what next. There is part of me, kind of the ridiculous part of me, which wants to try and cannonball run this thing and see if I could hit all 48 states in 12 days. But maybe we'll save that for after we get the first two trips done. So that's the plan. I want to take you along with me. I think it's going to be a fun trip. I think it's going to be interesting. If I'm planning to visit some relatives and other folks along the way, and so look forward to getting this all documented and planned out and then executed.